Okay, let's get started. There are several things that I want to speak about. You know, based on what we're getting from the National Weather Service and the news reports, the end of the rain may be in sight. The east side of I-45, there's only about 2 to 3 inches of rain over the next 24 hours. That's good news. On the west side of I-45, 1 to 2 inches. That's good news. Storms are moving to the east. Some winds gust about 30 miles per hour range here as storm center passes by, and by Thursday, we are clear for 2 to 3 days, assuming things remain on track. So that is good news. But the 1 trillion gallons of grain still have to go somewhere, and the reservoirs and the lakes across the region will cause flooding. We know that they've already caused flooding. So we're not done with the flooding, even if the skies are clear. With regards to the reservoirs, Barker Cypress, they have increased the release from Barker Cypress, but I'm going to let Steve speak to that issue. Okay.
Yes, as we discussed earlier this morning, the Corps had advised that they were going to increase the discharge rate up to 8,000 CFS. We've had additional conversations with the Corps. They've actually increased their discharge up to 14,000 CFS, and they're anticipating that they're going to peak somewhere around 16,000 CFS. And the reason for this additional discharge is to prevent as much overflow that's going from around the dam that is currently going around the dam in attics. What impact that's having, it's having a direct impact right in the vicinity between Eldridge and Derry Ashford along Buffalo Bayou. That's where the discharges from both attics and Barker combine. It's currently right around an extra 7/10 of a foot. The flood level has risen, and we anticipate it's going to rise a little bit higher as they do reach up to 16,000 CFS. A little further downstream, it's actually below what it was, so it has an immediate impact right in the vicinity of the both discharges. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So this is a situation that we'll be closely monitoring. It certainly is going to increase the flow of water coming downstream, and certainly there will be some impact. We'll be watching carefully to kind of monitor that impact and the flooding conditions. So certainly asking everyone to be alert, to be attentive as we move forward. On the rescues, which continues to be a high priority for all of us, let me call on Chief Acevedo.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for being here. As of approximately 1,700 hours since the last time we spoke, the Houston Police Department has rescued an additional 600 individuals. We've created several multi-agency forward staging areas throughout the city involving obviously HPD, HFD, federal agencies and state agencies, and a multitude of other local agencies. The mayor already addressed the flooding in the Kingwood area. We have approximately 529 calls holding, and we've responded to almost 2,000 calls for service in this operational period. Just on a side note, we have nearly 200 officers now whose homes have been damaged to some extent, and 47 facilities. We're tracking 200 plus high water locations, and Transtar is helping us track 440 high water locations throughout the region. The last thing I think is really important for our fellow agencies to know and the convoys to know that we're working diligently to start actually escorting convoys in, Mayor, with the supplies and people and goods, which will help the operation as we move forward, the relief operations here in the greater Houston area.
Thank you, Chief. And Chief will be back in a little bit to speak on another issue as well. Chief Pena with the Fire Department.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. It's been an active 18 hours for this operational period. The Houston Fire Department has responded to over 2,100 incidents to date. Over 763 have been water rescue related incidents. So the number of water rescue operations continues. As a result and in response, we've established 7 area commands. It's been a long day. Sorry, I thought he was mocking me. We've established
He doesn't look as young as he once did.
Now he's not going to say what I say, right? We've established 7 area commands throughout the city, and we're resourcing those appropriately. The areas of high demand continue to be the Kingwood area, especially the Enclave, Barrington, Royal Shores neighborhoods, as well as the Memorial City Mall area and the Maxey Road area along Greens Bayou. The Houston Fire Department responded and evacuated 124 seniors from the Maxey Road and I-10 nursing home, and they've been safely transported to an appropriate facility. Shelters, in support of the shelters, the Houston Fire Department has assigned some medic resources to those centers. We have 6 units assigned to Toyota Center, 5 units assigned to Dobie, and 7 units assigned to the GRB. At this time, we have 6 USAR teams actively engaged and incorporated into our rescue resources, and with an additional 350 personnel from those resources, we're able to rotate some crews that have been working long hours, and I continue to be incredibly impressed by the men and women of the Houston Fire Department. Most of them have been on duty for almost 2.5 days. So we're doing some things operationally to try to get those resources rested and back in the game, so to speak, efficiently. So the operation continues, and we'll continue to serve the demand as expected. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. And of course, it's not just police and fire and the rescues, it's also the Coast Guard that's been a invaluable partner with us. Lieutenant Hart.
Good evening. Search and rescue continues to be the highest priority of the Coast Guard right now. The Coast Guard is continuing to run 24-hour operations using 22 Coast Guard helicopters, 3 airplanes, and 28 Coast Guard boats. Just want to stress again that if anybody's in distress, local EOCs, 911, and contact the Coast Guard as soon as you possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you. And of course, when individuals are rescued, they are having to go to somewhere to come out of the elements, and therefore a number of shelters have been set up. At the George R. Brown, which has been the primary or the mega shelter for the city of Houston, George R. Brown is now at about 10,000. That number has increased. And we're working, of course, to ensure enough cots are provided. We're also going to be using, because it has gotten so large and because the police department and officers are spread all over the place, doing a lot of different things at the same time. We're going to be using 50 Texas National Guard members just to provide added safety within the parameters of the George R. Brown. But that number continues to grow. What I've decided to do in conversation with the Toyota Center is that we are going to use the Toyota Center to reduce the population at the George R. Brown. So it will become another shelter, but not for direct, what's the word that I'm using it for? Entry. You still have to go through the George R. Brown, but because the number is at 10,000, and I want to reduce that population because I don't want it to become so large that it becomes difficult. So I want to reduce that population. I want to thank the Toyota Center, the Rockets organization, for granting permission to use it, and that will take effect right now. So we're going to reduce the population at the George R. Brown by using the Toyota Center as a shelter. In addition, later on this evening, the county judge will announce another shelter that will be opening between the county and the city. So that will take place. But with so many people needing transportation to the shelters, we certainly would not have been able to do what we have done without the strong collaboration and the partnership with Metro. They have simply been invaluable. So, Karen, Department Chair chairperson of the Metro Board.
Thank you so very much, Mayor. We've never been prouder to be a community partner with this extraordinary team. Metro's primary focus has been and is in support of the continuing police and fire operations. We've transported over 6,000 people to shelter during the duration of this awful tragedy, and to shelters today, 3,000. So we've also, the Humble Civic Center has opened, and we'll be transporting 2,000 people from Kingwood and Crosby to the Humble Civic Center. We remain positioned to support rescue and fire operations, get people to the shelters, get them home once the flooding has passed, and we are working directly with the American Red Cross to help their trucks, which are loaded with supplies in bulk, get to their destinations. Our police officers literally now have formed a relationship where we are meeting them if they encounter high water, help them plot another route, and help them get to the George R. Brown. So we thank everyone. This has been an extraordinary time. Houstonians have stepped up under the leadership of our mayor and County Judge Emmett, and we're just so grateful to be part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. And so there are several shelters that are in existence. I want to thank Pastor Kirby John Cardwell and Councilmember Larry Green for opening up the powerhouse. There are 700 that are over at the Power Center. And then Councilman Brenda Stardick has opened up, and is it Trinity Mendenhall Park?
Trinity Mendenhall.
Right. For those individuals, for example, that may be impacted from the release of the Barker Annex in that west part of town, they can certainly go to, the name again is? Trinity Mendenhall. Yeah, that place. Yeah. I think it's 4141 Worth, 4141 Worth, and it is open and ready for those on the western part of the city of Houston. And look, the support of the Houston community has just been overwhelming. You know, we asked you for clothes, and people have responded. But let me just say, the George R. Brown will no longer be accepting clothes and other things simply because we have so many people there. You can now direct supplies to BBVA. That will be receiving supplies, and we do need. Bear in mind, we got a lot of kids, so things of whether it's coloring books or some toys or things of that nature for our kids. But all of the supplies will go to BBVA, and to the extent you're going to give clothes, let me just ask that we need. Let me, if you will allow me, the XL and the XXL. Would be appreciated, you know. So you know, govern yourselves accordingly. You know what you know what I'm asking for. Oh, and because we have so many in our shelters, and Karen spoke about Metro now. Taking people to the Humble Civic Center. Yes. And for example, the people from Kingwood will be going there. That's about 2,000. So there are a number of people in our shelters. One of the questions that we are asking and answering now is that we recognize that being in the shelters is a temporary situation, not intended to be long-term, temporary. And so we want to start even now. Working to address their situation, putting them in the best position to get registered, connecting them with FEMA, so that as quickly as possible, transition them from the shelter and back into their normal routine. We can't do that without FEMA, and FEMA is here. Appreciate their support. And where's Dwayne? Cavus? Yes, sir. But Dwayne and I are such good friends, we just go by first names. Dwayne.
Thank you, sir.
This is my friend. FEMA is my friend. So tell us.
It's Dwayne Tavis.
Want to spell that?
It's common spelling. It's D-U, capital W, A-Y-N-E, and the last name is T-E-W-E-S.
Otherwise known as Housing Assistance and Support.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
As everybody has said, the life-saving mission is still the first priority for everybody. Getting the folks that are out there that need to be rescued, getting them rescued. But for those that have made it to the shelters, we have activated and brought in our disaster survivor assistance teams. Earlier this afternoon, they deployed to the GRB to begin registering survivors there for assistance. For those that are in a safe place and need to register, they can do it by either calling 1-800-621-FEMA or going online to disasterassistance.gov, and they'll be walked through the process there in order to be registered for assistance for their situation. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And I'm asking FEMA to provide as many personnel as they can so that we can get it, so that they can get into all of these shelters and start registering and assessing people's needs. And let's start working on that now. Because as we know, some people have been in shelters Saturday, Sunday, to where we are today. So the quicker we can assess their situation, get them registered and assess them, the quicker then we can start to transition them. I mentioned the use of the Toyota Center to reduce the overflow at the George R. Brown. What I did not say to you is that Les Alexander, of course, the owner of the Rock, has been very generous. Initially, he had pledged, he had indicated that he would give $4 million, but Les Alexander has decided to do more than that, recognizing the impact of this storm, and so his gift now goes up to $10 million. So it goes from 4 to 10, in addition to opening up the doors of the Toyota Center as a way of reducing. They recognized how the population was going at the George R. Brown and thought it was important to reduce that population. So this is what Houston is all about. This is how we operate. Then let me just say, with regards to the Kingwood situation, we got word that there are some people dressed up like, I guess law enforcement security, in khakis, black shirt with HSI on their shirt, that's walking around knocking on doors and telling people that there is a mandatory evacuation because the dam is going to give way. We believe that they are impersonating law enforcement, that is not the case, and want to say to the people in Kingwood and in any other place, be very, very careful when people are knocking on your doors and impersonating law enforcement. And, unfortunately, that there are people out there that want to take advantage of the situation. This is a time when across the city of Houston, for example, we have thousands of people who are out of their homes and thousands, in shelters, waiting for water to subside. We have over 100,000 homes in our Houston region where the power is out. Okay, and we have a situation where water is still on our streets impassable, and there are manholes, and literally you can place yourself in danger. Because of the current situation and the fact that so many people are out of their homes and power is out, and it is dangerous to be on the roads late at night, I have decided to impose a curfew starting immediately tonight from 10 until 5 o'clock. Quite frankly, no one needs to be on the road or out from 10 to 5. But there are too many people from across our city, too many residents that are out of their homes, and they are in shelters. And I don't want them to have to worry about someone breaking into their home or looting or doing anything of that nature while they are away. And the reality is that there are some people who might be inclined to take advantage of this situation. And so until I decide otherwise, this curfew remains in effect, and it goes in effect this evening starting at 10 p.m. Chief Acevedo, you want to speak in addition to that?
Thank you, Mayor. And Mayor Turner, as he has indicated, he is issuing an executive order effective this evening until further notice, creating a curfew in the city limits of Houston from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., or excuse me, 5 a.m. The recommendation was made to the mayor, and he, obviously being the leader that he is, accepted it because we have had instances of looting to small scales. We've had armed robbers that were going around yesterday robbing our community, victimizing them again. Harvey wasn't enough, and these lowlives are doing this to their community. We have a lot of threats, not only in terms of security, but safety. There are a lot of safety threats out there right now. There's a lot of debris. And lastly, we still have a lot of active search and rescue going on that is dangerous enough in the daylight and even more dangerous at night. And the last thing we need, with all these vehicles moving around, traffic signals going out in a few parts of the city because of some power failures, is to have the additional traffic. Our officers are well trained. They understand that this is a tool that affords them the opportunity to enhance their ability to keep this community safe. And so if you do not need to be out there, or if you are out there and you think it's a good enough reason to be out there because you have a need, know this: there's a high probability that the Houston Police Department or other law enforcement agencies will be stopping you. You will be subject to stop, questioning, search, and arrest. And so please heed the warning from the mayor and his order. But like we always do, we use a little bit of common sense and some discretion. But the discretion will be used only when absolutely necessary.
You stated in Spanish as well.
Yes, sir. Y thank you, Pete, the mayor. El alcalde, Mayor Turner, después de la recomendación del Departamento de Policía de aquí de Houston, ha ordenado que empezando esta noche a las 10 p.m. hasta las 6 a.m., 5 a.m., disculpe, de las 10 p.m. a las 5, hasta las 5 a.m., no pueden andar en las calles manejando en la ciudad de Houston. No pueden manejar, no pueden estar en ningún lugar público, tienen que estar en su hogar. Acuérdese que esto es algo que estamos haciendo por orden del alcalde, pero es la recomendación de este departamento. Hemos tenido problemas, no mucho, pero algunos, con personas que están robando a nuestros habitantes con pistolas y fuego de armas, o armas de fuego, que diga, y queremos parar esta clase de acciones de esos delincuentes ahora. Si está en la calle entre las 10 p.m. y las 5 a.m., nosotros en el Departamento de Policía podemos pararlo, podemos chequear sus cabros, su persona, y puede ir preso. También quiero que sepa la comunidad que tenemos reportes que hay delincuentes que están haciendo el papel, que son miembros del HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, ICE. La comunidad debe saber que yo he estado en contacto con con el ICE, que estamos aquí, nuestros colegas. No tienen ningún agente trabajando en la comunidad, yendo puerta a puerta. Estas personas son fraudes, están cometiendo fraudes y son delincuentes. Así que no abra su puerta a ninguna persona si no es un oficial, y si no sabe, está seguro, marque el 911 o siga llamando hasta que sabe si es un policía o no. So the last thing I want to say about the HSI impersonation, it wasn't just in Kingwood earlier this afternoon, but also in West University. We're going to put out a message to all of our sister agencies in the area, because this is, I guarantee you that this will not just be here with these guys. If you are, HSI has met with us. I just spoke to them a few minutes ago upstairs. They have no agents deployed in the field walking neighborhoods. So if you have somebody with an HSI ICE t-shirt walking around, that's going to be an impersonator. If you're not sure if somebody is a police officer, don't open the door until you check for ID, or if you have to call 911 or just wait. Believe me, some of these folks, what they're doing is gathering intelligence to see where they want to go back and break into, trying to get people out of their homes, and some of them will end up robbing folks. So with that, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. So it's important for us to hold things in check. And with so many people that are in shelters or away from their home, from all throughout the city of Houston, from every quadrant of the city of Houston, and people, number one, they're concerned about the safety of themselves and their family members. People are still being rescued. People are in shelters all throughout the city, all over the city. And the reality is that there are some who might want to take advantage of this situation. So even before it even gets a foothold in the city, even before it gets a foothold, we just need to kind of hold things in check. You know, I've repeatedly said, you know, unless it's an emergency, stay off the streets. The streets still need to be cleared. The city of Houston still will be operating with just essential personnel even through tomorrow. And so the curfew goes into effect tonight. It remains in effect from tonight from 10 to 5 and will remain in effect until I believe that it is no longer needed or warranted, okay? Oh, on the 20 Minton home, I gave the wrong address. It's 1414 Worth Road. So if you're in the western part of Houston, and for example, depending on the situation, facing flooding or anything in that area, then this shelter is already stocked, supplied. People are there to assist you, and that's at 1414 Worth Road, Trinity Minden Home. Okay, so please utilize that shelter on that end. I think that covers everything that. Oh, I also want to thank Secretary of Energy Rick Perry for calling today and for offering his assistance. We talked about, you know, what the city need, and I said, you know, we're opening up a number of shelters, and certainly we need assistance in assisting with FEMA and getting supplies into our city. Made mention that the airports are operational, usable, but not to commercial flights. And so he graciously agreed to make the necessary calls to kind of expedite the process. So I certainly want to thank him for the call. And then there will be some additional announcements that will be coming up with reference to other people who are stepping up and wanting to assist. Take any questions? And before we start, and let me apologize, Cynthia, because you asked me a question, but no, because you asked me a question today that I chose not to answer directly, okay? I knew the answer, but I dodged it, okay? And the only reason why I dodged it is because the family did not know. So I just want to say I know what I did, okay? But I did it intentionally. It was not to misrepresent anything else, but since the family did not know, I just did not want to answer. Okay.
So I do have a question.
Okay.
And I apologize for this. You said WIRT as in W-I-R-T?
W-I-R-T.
Thank you. And I don't know if you had a chance to look outside, but the sun is shining. In your opinion, that is a good visual, but that does not mean that things are back to normal. Can you advise on that?
Well, what I would say to you, they say this too shall pass, and after the clouds pass, the sun will shine. I think it reflects that in this city, regardless of the storm clouds, regardless of the rain, in this city the sun will shine, and it will shine. And if nothing else, I think people right now are they're weary of the storm. They've gone through some dramatic situations. Today we announce the death of Sergeant Steve Perez, and then on this day, the sun came out. And I'm just going to say the good Lord did it in honor of Sergeant Perez, to let us know even in our worst moments, there is still hope, and we will still rise. And so again, anyone who underestimates the spirit of this city, that person does not know Houston, doesn't know Houstonians. We are a tough bunch, okay? Now, we can fight it with one another, but we are still family. And we are very competitive in our spirit. And I think this is one of those times, because so many people have said, woe is Houston. The port is closed, the airport's closed. You know, who wants to buy a house in the city of Houston with all this type of flood? And I think that's only going to encourage Houstonians to work that much harder to say a year from now, look at the city now. So that's just a positive note that the sunshine, and quite frankly, all of us needed to see it. Okay?
Mayor, I have a question about volunteers.
Yes.
A lot of medical professionals outside the city want to get down here as fast as possible and help. Is there a need for that? Do they just go to the GRB and kind of present their credentials and sign up and?
One of the things.
Or what do you suggest they do?
One of the things they can do is utilize the redcross.org. Go through that.
So go through the Red Cross.
Go through the Red Cross. From what I was told today, they've got a pretty good a group of medical providers at the George R. Brown. But of course, you know, there are going to be a couple of other major shelters open. And so we'll need the same sort of assistance there. So I would say redcross.org would be an excellent place. Thanks.
Chief, can you, two quick questions. One, do you know how many incidents of looting APs reported? And two, do you have an update on Jill Lennick, the young lady who's missing from the Omni?
No, I don't have any update, and I don't have any numbers. Part of the challenge that we've been having is, you know, everybody wants statistics. And some media outlets, at least one specifically, is only interested in what's gone wrong. What we're focused in is responding to threats and saving lives, as the mayor said earlier. So I don't have the numbers. I can just tell you, like the mayor said, we're nipping it in the bud. This is Houston. And you know what? We're going to be patrolling like we have been the last 4 days. White Houston, Black Houston, Brown Houston, the Rainbow Coalition Houston. And because one thing that's great about this city, that no matter what neighborhood you in, rich or poor, the very, very vast majority of the people in that community are good people. And they deserve what this man's given us tonight is the tool to keep those great people safe. And so we don't have those numbers. We may never have those numbers because right now I'm not interested in statistics and my boss certainly isn't. We're interested in results. Okay, thank you.
To enforce what you need to enforce, you need additional help. How are you going to do this?
We have help here. We have help here. We have help on the way. We've already developed some strategies. Our colleagues are going to help us throughout the county. So, and with the mutual aid agreements that the mayor has signed to get more police officers here. They're en route. State resources are here. Our partners at the DPS, Colonel McCraw has been talking to us. It's and the other thing is that with this tool, the criminal element, they're not stupid. They know what they're dumb because they choose a life that is not what we're placed on this earth to be involved in, but they're not stupid. They know what the mayor has given us with this curfew is a tool to assess the intentions of people when they're out there. Let's face it, most of us are either working or home in bed at night and during these operational periods of the curfew, 10 to 5 a.m. And so we will put out additional information by 8 o'clock, giving you details on how the curfew will work, how we're going to operationalize it. But at the end of the day, the curfew begins tonight at 10 p.m. And I want to thank the mayor because too many mayors would worry more about perception than worrying about keeping people safe. And I thank God today that this man has been standing up for this city. When we had a press conference and a question, he opens the questions in one media outlet, the same outlet that had the poor judgment of putting out the death of a police officer despite a great relationship with this police department, where they know that there's a way to embargo stuff, and other reporters out here had the same information. But you know what? They put their humanity first. And so I don't know about the mayor. I can't speak for my boss. I'm done talking about what's gone wrong because I can tell you nothing's gone completely right, and it never does. We're going to continue to focus on public safety.
What do you want to say to the criminals?
Oh, we're coming after you. We're going to come after you. And like we said earlier, that this is Texas. We're tough. And we're a really good city. We're a welcoming city. We're a city that is about diversity and opportunity and all kinds of justice. But we're not a city that's going to tolerate people victimizing people that they're at the lowest point in their life. When we were driving around, when I flew in that helicopter and you see two-story homes completely underwater. And you see trees that are like 50, 75-foot trees. Like, where are these trees? How high? And they're gone. So we're coming after you. Good luck, because Houston PD and our partners will be out in force, and we're going to be focusing. Now, the truth is that Chief Pena and the response teams that are here are going to help law enforcement now. You know, that's not our primary mission, is search and rescue. We've been doing it because we're partners. Now we're going to start backing off of the search and rescue mission, and we're going to start focusing on what the Houston Police Department does best, which is go after criminals and keeping the good people of Houston safe.
I think one of the things when I was at the George R. Brown, I ran into this woman who has been in the city for a long time. I wish I could remember her name. I think I wrote her name down. But one of the things that she said is that she was concerned about her house, and that she was away from her house and concerned about people breaking into her home. And then as we have added to the number of people in our shelters, these are people who are coming out of our communities, coming out of our neighborhoods all across the city. But one of the reasons why keep our city safe is not just for police officers, but neighbors watching neighbors. But the neighbors, many of them are now in our shelters. And quite frankly, we don't need them to be burdened about what's happening in their communities. And that's one of the reasons why we are imposing it. And quite frankly, as I've said before, just like we can rescue you, we can also arrest you. And the best way to keep that from happening is just to obey the curfew, don't engage in looting, and let's just focus on rebuilding our city. Yes, Mike.
This is mainly a preventative measure, because if there isn't data on, if there isn't specific data that you're seeing uptick in looting, is it more preventative?
And in part, yes, it's preventative. Sometimes conditions can be so enticing, especially if you start off with that sort of mindset. Conditions like this, people are away, power is out. Oh, this is my time to strike. Well, this is to make it even more difficult. This is to take that enticement away, and then at the same time, people still should not be on the road late at night. The roads are still not passable. And people are now sun out. The natural tendency would now be to be on the road, okay? People see the sun, they go out. The sun came out to heighten our spirit, but not for us to be unwise. So that's the intent of the curfew. And again, it'll stay in place until, as I assess things, as things improve, then I'll look at lifting it. But for right now, preventative, cautionary, holding things in place, providing the assurance to people who are in shelters that we're doing everything we can to protect their property. I just think it's a prudent measure at this time. I think we did something similar during Hurricane Ike, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
I think we did something similar. And so, and this storm is much more, I guess, expansive, impactful. So it's just a similar measure now. Another question, yes.
I know the city's been keeping tabs on what's going on with the addicts and Barker reservoirs, and the reservoirs, the court has said that the reservoirs are in good shape right now, but what would it mean to the city if something were to happen to those reservoirs? What kind of an impact could it have? Let me
dodge your question by not addressing a hypothetical that has yet to occur. Let me just say that I think we're already dealing with enough. We'll assess the situation, on a systematic basis, on a regular basis, and if things should change, if conditions worsen, then allow me to address it at that time. But I don't necessarily want to respond to a hypothetical where the circumstances are not there yet. Okay. Next question. Take one or two, and we've done.
What about the press? Are we allowed to be out after 10 p.m.?
Oh, that's a good question for the chief. I still want you to like me.
You guys have, again, that's what I'm so frustrated at. We believe in the First Amendment. We really believe in transparency. We're committed to it as an organization. We know who our media colleagues are. and we want you to help tell the story of what's happened here in the last week or so. And we want you to see the excellence of our first responders and this orchestra of good that's going on in this city. So absolutely. But just remember, you heard it here first. There are risks out there, and if you get hurt, don't come and sue us, okay? That's it. Is this for your lawyer in Spanish or what? I don't think the community in Spanish cares whether or not you can be out there. They'll see you out there. Vamos, we're tired, brother.
And let me just, I joked about that, but the curfew does not apply to the press. Many people are watching the news 24/7 like I do. I'm telling people not to be on the streets, so where do they get their information? They're getting the information from you all. It is important for the information to be disseminated. The intent of the curfew is not to keep the information from being disseminated, it's to keep people from looting and doing some other things while people are in shelters or away from their homes. But it is important for the general public to get the information. And quite frankly, in part, I get my information from you all. And so you all have been reporting on a regular, ongoing basis. You represent a vital service, and I see you as an extension of what we are doing. And I think the public see you as an extension of what we are doing. So it does not apply to the press.
I was wondering if I could ask a question to Lieutenant Hart.
Yes, sir.
Of course.
You mentioned yesterday that the Coast Guard has done over 3,000 rescues, just the Coast Guard?
Yes, sir.
And so HPD has done over 3,000 rescues, those are separate? So,
Yes, sir. I was speaking of Coast Guard rescues. Yes, sir.
But is it correct to say that there have been over 6,000 rescues?
Oh, more than that.
More than that?
You're not including fire.
And that's not including fire department?
Right.
How many has fire department done?
We've done close to, well, we're trying to do the math real quick here. It's about 3,000 to 4,000 off the top of my head.
That's just fire department?
That's just fire.
So we're like 9,000, over 9,000 rescues that have been done. Is that just in the city or Houston area? Or?
The 3,000 for the Coast Guard is not just the city of Houston. That's the entire region.
When you say entire region, what do you mean?
Galveston, Brazoria counties, all the outlying cities, all the subdivisions outside of Houston.
Okay.
So
all the white area, we're talking about 9,000, at least 9,000 rescues.
Sir.
So like all the way down to Bay City?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you all so very much, and we will we'll see you again tomorrow morning.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks.